Hello, 7th grade, and this is lesson 7-1 on solving two-step equations. In tonight's lesson, we are going to be able to solve two-step equations, and you're going to also be able to use these equations to solve word problems. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, in the past, we talked about how we could use models to solve equations. For example, this is what we've done before. We've had these long green rectangles stand for x's, while all of these stood for either plus ones or minus ones. And of course, when you'd solve these, of course, you get rid of any little yellow squares, and then you'd solve for our x, or our green rectangle. Another way to think about it is, I have a jump rope here. Say this purple, which I'm just outlining in red, is a jump rope. All right, that's been laid out. And in the past, we've solved one-step equations. So if I said this entire thing is 5 feet long, and it took me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hops to get to the end, you could find out what was the length of each one of these hops if we assumed each one was the same length. By doing, well, it took me 5 hops of some length to get 5. Then we solved it. We divide by 5 and you get x is 1. Oh, each jump is 1. However, now we're going to look at one where, let's say I didn't start at the beginning. Let's say I started right here at 1 foot in. All right? So I didn't start at the first foot. It's still 5 feet long, but instead I started right here at 1. And then I took 2 really big hops to get to the end. We can look at and decide, well, how long was each hop in order to solve this? And of course, you could come up with an equation. All right, I have 2 big hops of some length, but I didn't start at the beginning this time. I actually started in 1. So you'd add 1 to it, and you'd have 5. So you can see how my equation is the same. But in order to solve this, well, I'd take away that 1 foot in because I didn't start at the beginning. And I'm left with 2x is equal to 4. So the length of my hop was actually 4 feet. And it took me 2 hops. Well, divide by 2, and you get, oh, each hop was 2 feet long. This is what we're doing tonight. I just wanted to start with the jump rope example because sometimes it's easier to picture it in that way. So when we solve two-step equations, it's very important to first undo any addition or subtraction. So anything on the same side as x, we want to get rid of. And then secondly, you undo any multiplication or division. So if we take a look at this problem, 5v minus 12 is 8. Well, v is our variable. All right, and on the same side, we have to look, is there anything being just added or subtracted? And yes, there is. There's this minus 12. Well, to get rid of that minus 12, we undo it by adding 12. Because again, those are opposites. Then we solve 5v, that crosses out, is the same as 8 plus 12, which is 20. Well, then we undo multiplication or division. Right now they're multiplying, so I divide to solve. And I have v is equal to 4. And of course, you can always check these. Remember, you just put them in the original. 5 times 4 minus 12, and we see if that's 8. Well, that's 20 minus 12, and yes, that is 8. So that checks out, so I know for a fact v is 4. Now it's your turn. I would like you to solve these 2 equations, and when you're all done, I want you to solve or check your answer. It looks like for B, I forgot that 4 at the bottom, though. So A, you have 15 times x plus 3 is 48. And B is t minus 10 is equal to negative 6. So go ahead and solve. When you're all done, come back and check it. So go ahead and pause me now. All right, let's solve this. Of course, I get rid of the 3 first, and I have 15x is the same as 45. I'd undo the multiplication by dividing, and I have x is equal to 3. All right, so that's A. And then for B, I have t over 4 minus 10 is negative 6. Well, I'd add 10 to both sides. I have t over 4, or t divided by 4, is the same as, let's see, the signs are different, so I subtract them, and I get 4. All right, well, on the side of t, they're dividing by 4, so I times by it. And I have t is equal to 16. And again, I could go back and check them if I wanted to, but I'm going to trust my answers. And of course, we have one where there's a negative sign. It's the same idea as what we've been doing before. 7 minus 3 times b is 1. Now, we need to solve this. Again, you need to take a look at what number is being added or subtracted first on the side of b. Well, it's the 7. However, I've seen before some kids get confused because there's no sign in front of 7. So they look at the one after it and they say, oh, this must be negative 7. Well, that's not true. When there is no sign in front of the 7, that just means it's positive. It's a positive 7 that's there. So there's 7 and they're taking away 3 times b. So to get rid of a just a 7, you subtract 7 to both sides. All right? So those cross out, and we're left with negative 3 times b, and then that is equal to negative 6. And then here we have negative 3 times b. We divide by negative 3, and we're left with b is equal to, well, 2 negatives make a positive 2. That'd be our answer. All right, the final problem for the night is a word problem. You borrow $350 to buy a bike. You agree to pay back $100 the first week and then $25 every week after until the balance is paid off. To find how many weeks W it will take you to pay for the bike, solve 100 plus 25W is equal to 350. And of course, we're still talking about money here. This 100 is the $100 you pay off originally. This is the $25 every single week. And this is the $350 that you have to pay total for the bike. So again, you'd solve this the way you would. And in fact, I think I'm going to make you solve it. So I would like you to find out how many weeks would it take you to pay off this bike. And when you're all done, come back and check your answer. So go ahead, pause me now. All right, let's solve this. First, I have to take away the $100 that you already paid. And I'm left with $25 per week until I get to, $250. Well, 25 times W, so I divide. And I find out W is equal to 10. So it would be 10 weeks for me to pay off for this bike. And again, you do need that label of weeks because it is a word problem. All right, that's your lesson for tonight. Tonight we talked about how to solve two-step equations. I will see you in school tomorrow. Have a good night.